Dear students, today I am going to start chapter 3, Agriculture of Indian Economy. The first is meaning of agriculture. What do you mean agriculture? It is the process of cultivation on land by the farmers. Now students, you can write down any other definition of agriculture. And in agriculture, you know, it is the process of cultivation of land by the farmers to grow various food grains and other things. Next we have importance of agriculture. Now as you know, Indian economy is an agricultural economy. Therefore, we have to study about its importance. The first importance is contribution to GDP. Contribution to GDP. Now GDP full form you know, gross domestic product. That is, in India, in GDP, the contribution of agriculture is more than the contribution of other sectors. For example, in 1950-51, the contribution of agriculture was 59% in GDP, but when we see in 2016, it has reduced to 17%. This is because there was more dependence on other sectors as compared to agricultural sectors. That is, till now also it contributes to GDP. Second point, second importance is supply of wage goods. Supply of wage goods. Now what are wage goods? Wage goods are those goods which are sold in order to get price. It includes the supply of rice, wheat, maize, etc. This is known as supply of wage goods. Third importance is employment generation. Employment generation. In India, as we know, most of the people are living in villages. Therefore, in villages, agriculture is the main source of employment for the people. Fourth point, supply of industrial raw material. Supply of industrial raw material. Now agriculture is also known as primary sector. Now this primary sector, it provides raw material to industrial sector. For example, sugar cane for sugar industry, jute for jute industry, etc. Clear? Now next importance is contribution to exports. Contribution to exports. Now India is the major exporter of tea, coffee, spices, and textiles, etc. Now by exporting all these things, we get foreign exchange, we get foreign currency. That means it has been contribution to exports. Next we have contribution to internal trade. Now you know, every state in our country is not able to produce all types of food grains. Some food grains are grown in some states and some in other states. So agriculture helps in improvement of internal trade between different states. So this is known as contribution to internal trade. Now next point is contribution to transport sector. That means whenever the food grains are to be transferred from one place to another, we require transportation, roads, railways, airways, or waterways. So that is done with the help of transportation. That means with the help of development of agriculture, transport sector is also developed. Next point is revenue to the government. Now agriculture provides large amount of revenue to the government, but as you know, in India there is no agriculture tax, but agriculture makes an indirect contribution. It makes an indirect contribution. That is, it makes an indirect contribution to the government's tax revenue, to government's tax revenue through sales tax, excise duty, etc., which have been removed now. Now we only have one tax, that is GST. So these were the importance of agriculture. Now dear students, we have 6 to 8 points of importance. Out of these 6 to 8 points, you can remember either 4 or 5. Okay? That is known as importance of agriculture. Now next topic we have, that is the features of agriculture in India. Features of agriculture in India. Now, these features of agriculture in India, in this first we have low productivity. Low productivity means the per hectare production is low. Per hectare production is low. Second, disguised unemployment. Now, disguised unemployment means in which there are more number of people than required. For example, if we require 5 persons and we have 7 persons, then 2 persons are known as disguised unemployed. Which means if these 2 persons are not included, the production will not be affected. Next, third is dependence on rainfall. In India, in modern times also, in most of the states, agriculture is mainly dependent on monsoon. There is lack of irrigation facilities such as tube wells, canals, etc. Now, fourth is subsistence farming. In India, the farming is mainly done for self-consumption and not for sale in the market. Fifth point, traditional and backward technology and backward technique. In most of the states, still we are making use of old techniques and backward techniques in the field of agriculture. The next is small holdings. That is, in India, the agricultural land is small and fragmented. Because of fragmentation of lands, the area of land becomes small and it is not possible to do cultivation in large quantity. And last is landlord and tenant conflict. In India, most of the rich farmers, they do not cultivate land of their own. They have kept the people to cultivate land, because of which sometimes there arises conflict between the landlord and the tenant. So these were the features of agriculture in India. Now dear students, this is my first lecture on agriculture, in which I have told you two things. One, we did importance of agriculture, and second is feature of agriculture. Now in the next video, I shall be studying about the problems of agriculture, and then we shall study what reforms have been taken for agricultural development. Okay, thank you, beta. Okay.